Hello everyone and welcome again. My name is Andrew and today I'm going to be explaining to you all what is going on with your Focus One headsets that you're probably using for the NeuroMaker BCI product. So you'll see on my table I'm going to be talking about all these different things, and there's nothing better than to just get started. So what you received is probably this container, which holds all the material you need to get your headband up and moving. However, where I'm going to start is actually with the device's original packaging. So we've actually modified what you are receiving as an educator so that you're not burdened down with so much packaging and extra things that you have to take care of. So what you actually get is a really easy carrying case. But for a narrative device, I'm actually going to talk through with some of our original packaging. So you will see on your headband that these devices are created by our partner, really our parent organization, BrainCo. So BrainCo puts together lots of different brain-computer interface products, and one of the versions, which we're going to be using today, is the Focus One EEG headset. So we're going to explain all those different things in this video, but just a couple of things to set the tone on is that this headband here is used with the exact same partners that we have with athletes and high-performing cognitive all-stars all over the world. So two of the biggest examples of that, you may have heard this in some of our other pitch documentation, but two of the biggest ones are Formula Medicine. So the exact same pieces of hardware that students are going to be using for their NeuroMaker BCI experience are going to be the ones that our Formula One race drivers use for their cognitive training. They're going to be the same ones that take on the algorithms given to us by the NASA Technology Transfer Program. So we're actually going to be talking through that in the BCI curriculum, what pieces come from that and how students can develop apps like their own. And you can also see this in some of our high-performing athletes. So we've had Olympians use this. Here we have the weightlifting USA team uses this exact same device to get into the correct cognitive state. Exactly what those high-performing athletes are using are going to be what your students will be using in order to conduct different experiments with brain-computer interface. So that's a little bit of background. Moving on to what you just received. So if you just opened up a box of your product for NeuroMaker BCI, you are probably looking at this carrying case. So this is what an individual device is going to be held in. So anything you need to get one device up and started is going to be inside of this packaging. So you'll see here it has a carrying case if you want to hang it up on the wall with the coats and stuff like that. It's very easy to be stored. All of this can be stored wherever is convenient in your classroom. So it's all going to be in here, and I'm going to open it up so we can see what's inside. Just open up the zipper here, and you'll see this folds out. And there are two different wings that you are going to see in this carrying case. So the first one holds a pouch where all the accessories needed to get your headset up and moving are going to be located. And the second piece is going to have an indented groove, which is going to hold your headset inside of this carrying case. So there's a few tips and tricks in here, so I'm going to walk through everything in here piece by piece. So let's start by opening this up. So first of all, we're going to take our headset out. So we are going to talk all about how to get this headset up and moving. But for now, just for storage purposes, please make sure that when you are putting this back inside of its case, when you want to put the Focus Now headband back inside of its case, you are putting it inside of this indented groove. So why do we do that? That's because one of the pieces that is very important to the operation of this device is this protruding electrode holder, which goes under your left ear. We want to make sure that this is nice and snug in here so that when you close it, you're not crushing this electrode holder, so that it can all stay together and not get damaged. So please make sure when students or when you yourself are putting this back inside of the packaging that it goes inside this indented groove. So that's that. We're going to be talking about our headband in just a moment, but we're going to start with our accessories. So on the top flap of our carrying case, you are going to see all of the different materials needed to get your NeuroMaker BCI up and moving. So I'm going to take them all out at once so you can see them all, and we're going to talk about each one at a time. So we're going to take that all out of the pouch. So the first one's the easiest. So you'll see that all of these devices come with a charging cable. So we have a USB connection on one side and a micro USB on the other. So just like any kind of cell phone, you can put any kind of a plug on top of this USB device, and then this micro USB will plug right into the headband itself. So while we're on the subject of charging, I'm going to show you right away how that's done. So we're going to talk about each individual piece on this headset. There's a lot to learn, but where we're going to start with is the charging port. So I'm gonna hold this as close as I can to the camera. So you'll probably see there's a little indentation right above where this earpiece is. So that is going to be where the micro USB port is. So it's really easy. We can just take the micro USB and plug it right in here. So once that's in nice and snug, and you have this plugged into another plug into the wall, you will see these lights move while it's charging, and that's how you know that your battery is charging. So that's as simple as charging goes. So just so long as you have a plug that can go in there, you'll be ready to charge your device. So that is the charging piece. Let's take a look at some of the other accessories inside of that pouch. So number one, you have a cotton cloth here provided by Brainco, which is going to enable you to clean this device. So students or users are going to be wearing this on their head. So there might be like little bits of oil or other fingerprints and things like that that we want to keep off the device to keep it clean. So with this little towel, you can clean off the sides of the device, and you can also clean the electrodes. So we're going to talk about the electrodes in just a moment. But so please keep that towel handy. This is also a reusable, so you can use it and put it back in the case, and that'll make sure you have something to either wipe down the device when it gets a little bit wet, or when you want some stuff that you just want to clean off. So speaking of keeping this clean, you're going to notice that there's also 20 different saline wipes inside of this case. So there's going to be a little bit of plastic wrapping here, so this might not come out good on camera, but you will see each individually wrapped pack inside of this plastic bag. And this is mostly saline solution. So we're going to talk about how to keep your headset nice and clean so that you can keep using it and make sure that it lasts for as long as possible. So the best way to use that is with a saline cloth solution. So we recommend that when cleaning your device, you use something with as much saline content as possible. The electrodes on this use a special compound that might get worn down faster if you're using something with a lot of alcohol in it, like a Clorox wipe or something else that you would see in the classroom. So the best you can do to keep this as functional as possible is to use something with a high saline content. Like in a pinch, if you absolutely need to use something, you can even use a little bit of water on top of a towel or something else just to make sure that extra sediment and oils and stuff like that is off as much as possible. So you're gonna get 20 of those inside of each pack. So we're gonna put that down over here. And now that brings us to the subject of our wonderful electrodes. So I'm gonna hold that up nice and close to the camera. So you're gonna see each individual pack is going to come with 6 different electrodes. So at any given time, you're going to need 3 of these electrodes. So in a moment, we're gonna show you how to put all that together. However, for now, you have enough electrodes to last you 2 full rounds of use for this product. So you can also switch out an electrode one by one if you see one is worn down a bit more than the other. But for the most part, all you need to know is that these 6 electrodes come inside of this pack. We're going to need to use 3 of them to get your device started, and then you have an additional 3. So just to make sure that you are using your devices properly and that they last as long as possible, these electrodes are made of a special compound called hydrogel. So just a little bit of fun background story. If you've ever been to the hospital and you've seen the medical kind of these devices inside of the hospital, you've typically seen them as this kind of wiry device where there's lots and lots of different electrodes that a doctor puts on a patient's head, and that's taking all these complicated readings. What normally happens in a medical space is that you need to use special kind of gel, and then in many cases the user actually needs to keep their hair very short or shaved, and this special gel has to go on there with a special metal electrode. We do not want to do that with your students, and I'm certain you don't want to do that either. So we're going to use this special compound instead. So hydrogel, just as the name sounds like, comes with a high water content. So what is happening is you can think of these sensors being fake wet, so that they are staying nice and wet. However, they don't physically feel wet. You're not going to get wet from using this. So these are going to go inside your head, and they're going to simulate a wet sensor. So you can put these into your headband, and typically if you're using these quite often and you're keeping them in a good space where they're not too warm, they're not too cold, so the room temperature, and that they're not in direct sunlight, you're not using alcohol to clean these, you're using them for a little bit of time each day, these should last for about 6 months. For most of the applications that we're going to be doing in NeuroMaker BCI, you do not need an incredibly precise measurement. We're looking at the more broad picture of what's happening in your brain. So if these turn out to be a little worn down or a little messy, they're still going to be usable for the applications that we have for the classroom. Just make sure to take extra special care to keep these electrodes clean, particularly after a student uses one and they need to pass them either to the next student or they need to be stored for the next time. Just make sure you wipe these down when they're on the headset so that they're clean when they go into the packaging, and then when you take them out and for a student to use them, you can clean them again. So this way they'll be nice and clean for the students and they'll also take care of your device. So those are all of the different accessories that come inside of the packaging. So all that's left now is to talk about what is actually happening on your headband. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this segment is I'm going to show you how to set up everything, and then I'm going to show you how to properly wear that. So first, let's talk about how to set this up. So when you are opening this up for the first time, you're going to notice that the sensors and the headband are not connected. So we do this on purpose. Like we said, there's water inside of these electrodes. So the longer that these can be kept inside of a specialized container is the less likely they are to be dried out. So that's why it's very important that when you are done with using your device, that you put them back inside of the packaging and you keep them stored inside of a closet or somewhere where there's no direct sunlight or heat. And that's going to make sure that you have the most life out of these as possible. If they're sitting around the classroom and they're collecting dust in the corner, they're not going to last as long. So that being said, as you notice, we're going to need to put these on. So I'm going to show you how to take these out and put them on one by one. So before we actually take these out of the packages, I just want to make a quick note. So hopefully this will come up on camera. If you look at the piece that the electrode goes into, you're going to notice there's a tiny, tiny notch. It's very small. You might not be able to see it on this video, but by close inspection of your headband, you are going to be able to see a small notch. So you'll notice, just like a puzzle piece, there's going to be a special way to put this electrode inside of the headband so that this can only go inside the correct way. So you never have to worry about putting it in backwards or the wrong way. If it's not set in the correct direction, the electrode simply won't go into the device. So that part is very easy to understand. So I've talked a lot, let's get straight to it. So let's take one out. So just like a piece of gum, we're gonna take it right out of the packaging here. So we're gonna take our first one out. And as you can see, if you give it a little touch, it's gonna be a little sticky. It's gonna feel a little bit wet. So that's all totally fine. And it's actually the consistency that we really wanna feel. If you feel that kind of stickiness, it's like a very, very, very light, it's kind of like the back of a stamp almost. That's gonna tell you that your electrode is in good working condition. So we're gonna get a nice, good signal from a clean electrode like that. So to put it inside, we're going to look at where this notch is. So you can see in the electrode, you're probably not gonna be able to see it on my camera. However, there's a tiny little notch right here. And that notch is going to go right where you can see there's a little tiny piece sticking out on the inside of the electrode bed. So if you take a close look at your device, you'll be able to see it. And if you can't see it in my video, it's not a big deal. So you'll be able to see it when you put it in. So it's gonna be real simple. You'll see that there is a metal part sticking out right here, and there is a receiver right inside of here. So we're just gonna stick them together, make sure the notch is in the right place, and that's it. So you'll see here, when this electrode is in properly, there's going to be a little bit of a bounce. Let's see if you can see that. So there's gonna be a little bit of a bounce there, and that's totally where we want it to be. This is gonna make sure that when you wear it, it's nice and comfortable, so that you don't have something that's sticking onto your forehead all day. So that little bounce is great. Now you will see there are two other spots where you need electrodes. So a EEG device needs at least 3 electrodes in it, so we have to put in the other 2. So just like we did with the first one, we have our pack of gum here. We're gonna take out the next one. Be nice and careful. So these are all gonna look exactly the same. So these are all interchangeable at any other part in the headband. So once again, we're going to see that notch and the part sticking out on the inside of this electrode bed. So we're just gonna put them in one by one. So I'm gonna put in my next one here. There we go. So one thing you will notice is that these electrodes are not going to bounce. So these are very important to stay stationary. So when you put them in, you should be able to touch them with your finger. They're not gonna come out, but they're also not going to move around as much as this forehead electrode does. So just keep that in mind. So I have 2 of them in there. I have to put in 1 more. Here we go. Here's our 3rd one. All right. Be nice and careful. Yeah, it's nice and sticky. So we have our 3rd electrode ready to go. Let's make sure I don't lose that. Now we're gonna find our notch again, and we're gonna plug it right inside. There we go. So you will see that we have 1, 2, 3 electrodes in here. They're feeling sticky. You can see they're not moving. They're not gonna fall out when I put them on top of my head. There's a little bit of bounce in here. So this device is all set and ready to go. We just have to make sure that the power is working and we have enough battery life inside of here. And I just want to teach you a few simple things about how to turn your device on and off and make sure that you know when the device is paired and when it's not. So by this point, you understand everything that's inside the accessories here, and we just need to understand how to operate the device. So just as I said before, these electrodes are going to be good for about 6 months when you're using them correctly, and you do not need to take these out when you're done. You can leave these in the headband. As I said before, you just need to make sure that they are inside of the packaging correctly so that they're not drying out. But once you've completed this step, you do not need to do it again until you need to replace the electrodes. So perfect, we're good there. Now, before we move on to the operation of the power switch here, we're gonna talk a little bit about adjustments. So when we're trying on our headband in a moment, I will show you a little bit more, but just know that you're going to have a little bit of play on each side of this headband. So if you open this up and close it, this will allow you to adjust your headband when there's different size heads being used with this device. So that if there's somebody with a smaller head or a bigger head, you can change that, they'll click into place and they'll stay there. Additionally, there's some information inside of these different sleeves. So you will see there's some industry certifications written on the inside of the right hand of the Focus One headset. On the left side, where your earlobe piece is, you're also going to see some important information to pair our headbands later. So we'll talk about this when we're pairing our headset, but just know when you open up the left side of this device, there's going to be an SN number, which is going to tell us the code of this device that we're going to need to connect this to our software. So just know that that's there. We'll talk about it later. Now, we have our device ready to go. We understand the basic pieces of it. Let's talk a little bit about how the power works. So the only thing that you ever need to touch to turn this on, to turn it off, to check the status of the headband is this one tiny power button. So you'll see it right above where the left ear goes. So right where this notch is, you're gonna see this little indentation on the top. So that's it, and that's the only thing that you need to touch to operate this piece of hardware. There's no other buttons or dials or anything. Everything can be done with this one button. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the first time you receive your headband, it will not be charged. You're going to need to charge it with your charging cable that we talked about a few minutes ago, and it should take about an hour to go from 0 charge all the way up to maximum power, and that will allow you to have a fully charged battery. Now, under normal use, if you have this device constantly on and you're using it a lot, it'll last typically a minimum of 2 hours with a full charge. And when you charge the device after you've gone from a complete dead battery, it should take roughly about 30 to 40 minutes to charge up fully again. So this will be different for how much your battery is charged, but it's typically gonna fall within that range. So more than enough for one class period. And you'll notice when you look through our NeuroMaker BCI curriculum or other experiments, you don't need to have the device on the whole time. You're typically gonna be turning it off, you're looking at some data or operating some other software. So you should have plenty of power to do whatever experiments you're looking to do. And most of the recordings that we're gonna take with our BCI device only take a couple of minutes. So you're gonna take some data, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna run some experiments, and then you'll be good to go. So you should have more than enough battery life on here. Now to check your battery life, we're going to be using this power button. So if we press it once, let's see if you can see it in the camera. If I press it once, you're going to see some lights come on. So did those lights come on? I'll do it one more time. So you should be able to see how much power is inside of the device. So I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm actually gonna look at it myself. Oh, it's just coming on. Actually gonna try it again. So you actually, regardless, if you press this button very quickly, so for about a second or two, what should happen is your device should flash a few different dots. So under normal operating circumstances, each one of these dots is going to be 20% power. So if you have 3 lights on, that means you're at 60% power, 2 lights 40%, 5 lights 100%. You get the idea. So if you want to get a quick glance at how much power is inside of your device, just press it down very quickly and you should be able to see it. So I think mine might be in a different pairing mode, so you might not be able to see it too clearly there. So that's how you check how much battery life is inside of your device. If you want to turn your device on, for our purposes, we are going to be holding this button down until each one of these lights turns on, and then you're going to see each of the lights move to the left, then they're going to move to the right, and that's how you know the device is going to be on and working properly. So let's try that right now. So I'm going to hold this down until you see all 5 lights turn on. Let me know that's it. Good. So you'll see that each one of those lights turns on, and then you'll see one light move back and forth. So is that nice and clear? Great. So when you see this, this means that your device is in something we like to call AP mode. And actually inside of this headband, this gives off its own Wi-Fi signal, so that when you see this light operating like this, that means this device is sending out a Wi-Fi signal and that another device needs to connect to it. So another thing that you are going to see during this process is that this front LED on the headband is going to be flashing. So when you see this headband light flashing, that means that this device is not connected to a computer, so that the Wi-Fi signal it's putting out there has not been received yet. So no matter what, like while you are operating this headband and you do have it connected, you're still gonna see the same light go back and forth. Just means that you're in the correct operating procedure. So that's what that light looks like. Now we are going to walk through fully how to set this up on your computer, but for now, I'm just gonna show you what this looks like with the headband fully paired. So I'm going to look at my Wi-Fi. What you are actually going to see is, on your computer, you're going to see a Wi-Fi network called Focus Now with 4 digits after it. And those 4 digits are going to be the same as what you see on the inside loop of the left hand of your device. So you're going to see an SN number. So if you take a look at that, it's going to be the first number on the top of your list of numbers here. And you're going to look for the last 4 digits. So in this case, my device says 7412. So I look on my Wi-Fi network and I see Focus Now 7412. So we're going to walk through this much more in depth later on. But for now, I'm going to connect that. And then what you're going to see is when you're connected, you're going to see a solid light, right? So the light used to be flashing, now it's solid. Now I know that my device is paired to the computer, right? So my lights are still operating here, which means there's still that Wi-Fi signal happening. So our headset is ready to go. So now we understand all of our accessories, we understand our packaging, we understand how to use our headset, how to turn it on. A quick note, in order to turn it off, all you need to know is you just need to press down this button the same way to turn it on. You can see those same 5 lights turn up again, then they're all gonna turn off at once. So ready, I'm gonna do that right now so you can see it. So I'm holding down the button, and it should be off, right? So now all the lights are off. This means your device is completely turned off, and you can put it back inside of your case, and you are ready to store it until the next group of students come in. So that is the device fully turned off. I'm gonna turn it back on again. There we go. So you will see, I need to pair this one more time, and what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna show you how to wear this appropriately, and once we have weared it appropriately, you are gonna understand 95% of what you need to know to get this device up and moving. So I'm just gonna pair this again very quickly. All right, and great, so we have that solid color again. So, as we mentioned before, you have a EEG device. So these 3 different electrodes are going to be searching for traceable signals coming from your scalp that are in turn coming from your brain. So there is a lot of electrical activity happening inside of your head. We're going to be talking about that a lot inside of our curriculum. And in the description below, we're actually going to paste a couple of links to some pages that will help explain to you some of the basics of the brain science happening with this device. So In order to make sure we get that signal accurately, we're going to need to make sure that we're wearing this device accurately too. And I will also say, if you are not putting on your headband correctly, that probably means you're not going to be able to access our application or open it the way that you want to. So it's very important that we learn how to put this headband on so that we're getting a good signal. So all we need to do is just make sure that this electrode goes on your forehead right here. We want to make sure that these two electrodes go on the skin behind your left ear, and that there's nothing between your electrode and your scalp. So things like hair, maybe a headband or glasses. So you can wear this headband with glasses. You can wear it with different hairstyles. I've seen people with bald heads wear this. I've seen people with hair 3 feet long wear this. Anybody with any hairstyle can wear this. You just need to make sure that your skin is making touch with these different electrodes. So let me put it on and show you. So I'm gonna start off with this fully out so it's easy to wear. And all I'm gonna do is put this on so that, as you can see, this front electrode is on my forehead and that these two electrodes here are behind my left ear. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to adjust this so it's a little bit more comfortable. I have a little bit of a big head, so I need to adjust it, not that much. If you're working with some students who are still a little young, you might need to adjust this a little bit more so they're on there. So some students actually can use a special strap behind their headband so that they can keep this snug. So if you're encountering any students that their heads might be a little bit too small, there's like different straps and other tricks that we can do to make sure those stay on. But for our purposes today, we just need to make sure that these sensors are touching our scalp appropriately. So as you will see, I do not have long hair, so that there is nothing in between this sensor and my forehead, so that this is nice and snug. If you remember, that electrode can bounce, so that this is still pretty comfortable right here. And the one thing you want to make sure of here, the 9 times out of 10, if you are not getting a good signal, it means that there is something in between these two electrodes behind your left ear and what is on your scalp. So you want to make sure that this earpiece is directly behind your left ear. It might bunch up your left ear just a little bit. You could play around with this to make sure it's comfortable, but we're going to make sure that there's no hair. So you might need to brush this a little bit. So we recommend the students do this themselves, but they can have a partner make sure that there's no visible hair in between their sensor and their scalp. So I should be all set. So I've just felt around here and I can feel that there's no hair there, and that should be it. So you'll see that this is nice and snug. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. So I'm able to move this around and it's not going to wobble. Just a couple of quick notes. If you're very sweaty or if you're moving around a lot, it's going to be difficult to keep this on. So this is best used by people who are sitting down, meditating, or doing some very light activity. This is not meant to be used while you're running or you're doing push-ups or some kind of intense physical activity. But for our purposes, understanding the brain, is going to be more than enough. And that's most of the nuts and bolts. So what I would recommend is that people wearing this is that it's nice and comfortable. And you might notice that your signal will cut out. So sometimes when you're using this on your computer, you're going to notice that your signals go flat. So you used to have these peaks going up and down, and then you have a flat signal. That probably means that you lost your signal with your brain waves. So the simplest way to do that is just double check that your hair is not in between the sensor and your scalp. Sometimes if you do not put on this device tight enough, it's going to come loose, and that your forehead electrode is going to come off your forehead. So you just want to make sure that it's nice and snug. It doesn't need to be uncomfortable, it just needs to be form-fitting. And then a quick check that you can have, once you make sure that all your hair is off and that you don't have any other outside obstacles between the electrode and your scalp, you can just press down on these like this for about 15 seconds and just double check to make sure that you're getting your signal again. So that's really all there is to know. So we have gone through what your headband means, some people who use it, all the different accessories here, the packaging, how to set up your device for the first time, how to put it on and make sure it's correct, how to take care of your device, how to store it. We've covered a lot of ground. So now the only thing left is to learn and to really experience everything that's possible with brain-computer interfaces and your NeuroMaker BCI set. So thank you so much for working with me today. I hope that you learned a lot and that you're ready to use these things again and again. We're here if you ever need any assistance. Please contact our support and we'd be more than happy to help you with any obstacles that you face. But until then, I hope you have a great time and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So bye-bye now.